Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another one-man review. Today I've got two books from Strangers Publishing. I ordered Dear Mother and Other Stories by Bhanu Pratap. I've been following him on Instagram and seen this book and was really curious about it. And then the guys at Stranger Publishing were kind enough to send me Deadnauts by Andrew Zakolodny. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's how it's pronounced. So I'll start with Deadnauts because it's the one that I had no context for, and then get into Dear Mother and Other Stories because that's the one I ordered. So I had no idea what to expect from Deadnauts. It was a very interesting premise in a sci-fi story. But I didn't quite follow exactly what's happening. But there's a detective that's like able to basically leave her body through induced death and go into a space where there's people within this society that are killing themselves and body hopping or just stopping themselves from being taken to the afterlife or something. I wasn't very clear about that, and that's my biggest criticism of the piece. I think this is a world and a story that the artist just has like more in mind than can be put into such a short book like this. But I'm curious about it, and it's a really good. It like if I could understand the exact terms of it, like the premise is good. It kind of reminds me of that old J-Lo movie, The Cell, where there's the therapist that like goes through this, I don't know, mental connection into the mind of a serial killer, or Inception, where there's like these layers of reality, but it has to do with the afterlife somehow. I just kind of want more context for what that is and what all the terms mean, like what a dead knot is, what a jumper is. I think a jumper is a suicide who's trying to not get into the afterlife, but I was a bit unclear on that. I like the art in it. I think this art works well in black and white. It's nice, cartoony, designy work, but something about it, like I think in color, would really be able to like intensify the mood of it. There's a lot of cool like rhythmic paneling stuff and a really good balance of black, white, and gray that works in black and white. So it doesn't need color, but something about this, I want it in color. Um, One complaint I have about the art is that in a few places there's some really nice like motions that lead me through panels, but then I get a little lost on how to follow it. In this page, it doesn't really matter, but in a couple other spots, like this page, I'm supposed to read to here and then over to here and then out of the page. I like this device of the cigarette being flicked out, but I find it problematic that this curve leads me here. And so I want to read the dialogue this way and then it like loops me out before I get to this panel. I think that kind of trick could be used like if you're having a moment you're supposed to ignore in the story. So it made me think of like, oh, like I could use that to some purpose, but here it's accidental. For me, where the book is really at its best, and also where I think the color could really intensify things, is when they go into the space and they're having like a battle, a psychic or spiritual battle. And so you still get a sense of battle, but a lot of it's kind of abstract. And I've always hated when people have astral battles or spiritual battles that it's still bodies fighting. And there's some of that here. They're like strangling each other with cords. But there's also so much other abstract stuff or like weird things going on that it feels alien enough to me. So this middle sequence here where they're having that battle is really interesting to me. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. A couple little hiccups that I think as the artist makes more comics, they'll just have clear command of controlling the eye around the page. There was only a couple where I found that to be weird, anyways. I'd love to see it in color, and I'd love this to be like the middle chapter in a much longer story that's more well fleshed out, so I understand kind of the rules of the space that the artist is creating. Um, so yeah, cool book. I don't think I would have ordered it just based on like the couple preview images that I saw, but I really appreciate Strangers Publishing sending this over, and I'll definitely be looking out for the rest of Andrew's production, because I do think this is something that's going to grow and get better, and there's a seed of something really unique here. Okay, and then Dear Mother and Other Stories by Bhanu Pratap. I actually had to pause the video. I realized I needed to put sticky notes in this book because a lot of it's pretty explicit. So this is a project that was out of print for a while. It was done in 2021. By the time I found about it, just stumbling across Bhanu's Instagram feed and really falling in love with what I was seeing there, I went to go grab a book and it was out of print, and then Strangers Publishing just like put it into a second printing. So I was really excited and immediately grabbed a copy, because what I've been seeing on Instagram, this like really right out the gate. I don't know if Bhanu's done any other work, but I mean, it is like a fully developed, really bizarre, really compelling art style that plays a lot with like form, just, and by forms I mean like mass, like these weird bodily masses, beautiful composition, beautiful use of black and white, beautiful abstraction on everything. I mean, this just feels like a really fresh voice to me, and everything I've seen on Instagram has that feeling of like, you know, something really new, and also like, you know, I could tell it was gross. So the reason I had to pause the video is there's some pretty gnarly stuff in here, some pretty sexually explicit stuff, and those things are beyond my normal taste. So I will say that like the type of story that is being told here, some of them I like and some of them go too far for me. But for the type of like sexual body horror terror, I mean, like I can't imagine someone doing it better than Bhanu Pratap. So like, if that's your kind of thing, this is amazing. If you're like me and it's not your kind of thing, but you can appreciate it for being amazing, I still recommend it. If you can't hang with that kind of stuff, don't get this book. It's definitely an uncomfortable read. There's 5 stories. The first 2 are pretty short and more like these strange little poems. But you can see like just some of these abstract forms that they're bodily, they're fleshy, they're biomorphic in a sense, but you can't tell what they are. But there's just a dis-ease to them all. I find that really compelling. Even when you can tell what the forms are, they're so distorted and exaggerated. But I mean, I don't know. It kind of like, I love these forms when I sketch, and so like, I don't know, I just love these type of images. And a page like this, I wouldn't need text or anything, but it's amazing to me. Yeah, just every composition, the strange sense of another world that I get from it, that part of it really speaks to me. So this one was a little bit poetic, like little short poetry one too. This story, you can see where it gets into some of the grotesqueness. This is a woman, as far as I can tell, she comes home to her lover's dead, and the body's farting, and she's worried about the dead body, and she preserves the dead body and gets arrested for it, and that, you know, having the body in her house. And you can see some of the grotesque with the farting, and then her like hugging this exposed dead buttocks. And then there's kind of this comedic thing strip going on below. This page from the same story shows some of the real mood that Bhanu Pratap is able to get with these very abstract sense of body and form without attaching it to any specific part, or just like a jumble of messed up parts. There's also something, this is the stuff I like better because it's less explicit. It has that thing of like, I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know exactly what the sequence is, and it becomes more chilling. Like, because it's in a silhouette, like, I don't know what that is. I can kind of guess maybe what some of this stuff is. Like, it's orificey, but it's distorted enough that I can really bring my own interpretation to that, and it's more unsettling for it. And just, the pure beauty of the abstraction of each piece. This is another story, another page of a divine being that falls to earth. And there's a funny kind of punchline to that. But again, these awesome, like, abstracted biomorphic forms. this really grotesque like body coming apart and teeth falling out and eyes coming off. These really cool abstractions, really great silhouettes. I mean, it's just all of it. All of it is amazing. So I don't want to get into too much of all the stories. And then this is another one where there's obviously like uncomfortable sexual acts happening, and some of them are made very explicit, and I don't like those pages as much. They're almost too gross for me. But these pages where it's happening off frame and things are cropped in weird ways, and you get abstraction through crop, and all of those strategies, all of the kind of surrealist elements of it. I love all of that stuff. So I don't know where Bhanu Pratap's like trying to go with his career. Whether I'm assuming the body horror thing's going to continue. That seems to be the genre that he's going to be working in. So I'll continue to buy it even if I'm uncomfortable with it because it's just so damn well done. Um, in my personal preference, I hope it goes to stuff like this where you can kind of tell what's going on, but it's not so explicit. And to me, that makes it more uncomfortable. I'm not a big fan of like overly explicit, gory stuff. I like the off-frame type of horror more. That unsettles me more. The other stuff, I just wonder like what the hell's wrong with this person that they want to draw this. But that's not a condemnation of Bhanu at all. So I really think it's a stellar work. If this is the first work, this is an amazingly accomplished vision for a first work, and this is an artist that I just saw he apologized to De Chirico. I didn't notice that at first. Homage, but this is a really accomplished like an artist that has a vision right out the gate. And no matter what my discomfort level with it is, I think it's a career that's worth tracking and someone who's saying something really unique with comics. So I appreciate that. And based on your own preferences, I would highly recommend this book, but based on what you want in your household.